Imagine, if you will, Ben Shapiro on a stage in front of thousands when suddenly someone approaches from the crowd, hops on stage and pulls down his pants quicker than he can react, revealed to all a vagina. Is that a bit too transvestigate-y to start a podcast with? Is that still humorous, or is that too much into the reality that, if you weren't aware, there's a conspiracy called transvestigation in which people believe that everyone in power for the past maybe 100 years or so, or they're probably some to think forever, that everyone in power has been a trans person, like Barack Obama, trans, Michelle Obama. That was just a common theory, I think, among the conspiracy theorists. Trans. Donald Trump, trans. That's a fun, interesting one. Let's not get into that. I'm not here today to give you a down the rabbit hole on transvestigation. That would be a waste of your time. It's not that big or fun of a theory, since, the kind of whole opposite power dynamic is the truth. Anyway, howdy ho, neighborinos and such. Welcome back to episode 2 of the LiveHardCast. I'm your completely smart, always relevant host, LiveHardman. And in this podcast, if you weren't aware or have forgotten, since it's been 500 years since I recorded the last one, we shoot the shit, we talk the politics, we say random things, and I like to front load with the politics. And speaking of Ben Shapiro, I recently freaking saw a tweet of his that was just like, the founding fathers would have laughed if you brought up the idea of same-sex marriage in law to them, and why is that allowed to post? Why can he post that? That's just blatant hate speech. That's a person with millions of followers just saying, same-sex marriage, no, not good, bad, it's laughable, everyone should laugh at it, the founding fathers would not be for it, the founding fathers who owned slaves, they would not be for it, so I think you all should not be for it. That is just spreading the idea that same-sex marriage is something lesser, and that gay people are something lesser, deserving of less rights, deserving of less freedom. How is that not hate speech? Why is that still allowed on Twitter? Like a website that is constantly complaining, I know I've talked about this before, but it never stops bothering me, that a website that everyone on the conservative side complains is not free speech. Why is hate speech so allowed and encouraged? It never stops making sense to me. And with the case of Ben Shapiro specifically, this is someone who just straight up wants genocide for the entire LGBT, I'm so flustered about it, plus community. And if you're wondering what I mean by that, well, why don't we take a little look into the laws on trans people in America? You know, those things that are constantly being pushed and even extending now to the non-trans, with Florida's Don't Say Gay bill, where you can't let children know that anything non-hetero or non-cis exists. So it just pushes it into a nice little can to suffocate the kids who feel fuck anything that isn't straight or cis thought, and pushes everyone closer towards unaliving themselves to avoid the word suicide. Fuck it, I'll say it. Fuck fucking stupid ass YouTube's algorithm suppression system. The conservative agenda is just it's not exactly covert. It's not like overt that they want to kill all of us. But it's not exactly covert, because it is very obvious in the laws of trans people must not exist that they want to kill all of us. So it's sort of an implicit genocide. Like, it's there. You can definitely read it, but they're not going to straight up say that, yes, we want to kill all of you. They'll just say that you cannot exist. If your existence is acknowledged, that is against the law. We want you in jail. We want you to kill yourself. How is that not genocide? Is my point that I'm probably making quite poorly. And with the Ben Shapiro case of calling for this genocide directly, with indirectness, why is that allowed at all? because he didn't specifically use the words, I want all gay people to be seen as subhuman. I want them gone from my society. He just said, I want them to not have any rights. They don't deserve the same rights as me in this society. Why is that allowed? Well, the answer is probably because it's so fucking normalized to be against you and I in Western society, though I suppose maybe Europe isn't as affected by that. Oh wait, yes it is! Why don't we take a look over to Poland, in which it has LGBT-free zones, where entire towns can state themselves as LGBT-free. We will not have that propaganda here. Those are not people. We do not want them. They are against the law. But apparently, homophobia and transphobia are not existent in today's society. We are not oppressed at all, many would have you believe. No, it is the straight white Christians that are oppressed by our mere existence. Because according to them, we are, well, I guess they have a point in that maybe 1 in 300 million Twitter users call for the deaths of the straight white Christian man. Gosh, my tongue is very twisted in anger. However, when, I think that when the American government and entire bodies of states are pushing to oppress one side and not the other, these people don't use any actual evidence. What am I arguing here? Like, take for example, my favorite person to talk about in the world, Jordan Peterson. In Canada, when Bill C-16 was being pushed through, the bill that added gender identity and sexuality to our charters of human rights and other legal important documents, Jordan Peterson was very afraid that the gender police, the pronoun police, would come after him. They're enforcing your pronouns on us. It's not the truth. When the obvious counter to that is, what? The pronoun police, that's you. You're the pronoun police. That's your side. You're the ones who always tell people what pronouns and what gender they have to use and have to be. And American government constantly pushes to be the pronoun police when they see, oh, I don't know, a trans girl doing sports. Then they'll enact entire laws around oppressing that one trans girl and exposing cis girls to trauma as well. And like Ohio's freaking just inhuman, unimaginably stupid, oh, we're gonna have like get down to the truth of gender committee person, where if someone points to someone on a girls' soccer team and says, I think that's a trans person, then hey, we gotta take that little child aside and have an adult pull down their pants and inspect them for what is between their legs. But it's the people who just want to live their lives in peace that are the evil ones in the eyes of the ever-intelligent right. And it's so weird seeing them as like, oh, we're the people of God. We're the good ones. We just want you to kill yourselves. We don't want you to exist. We don't want you to have any rights, because that is the moral high ground. Oppression. Murder. But it's not murder because they just implied it. Just pushed you towards it a little bit. I mean, if you put a gun on a table and then walk away, are you really killing anyone? No, you're just planting an idea in their head. And that's what free speech is all about. If you haven't noticed, I live in Canada, where we don't have free speech. And I constantly find myself glad for that, because I am yet to hear an argument on free speech absolutism that makes any goddamn sense at all. And I could sit here and lecture you in the myriad ways that hate speech is violence and harms people, but I'm sure neither of us would really gain anything from that. I don't know if anyone wants to come on the podcast and argue for free speech against me. That's a debate I'd actually like to have, because I am yet to, as I've said, I'm yet to hear an argument for it that makes me think, oh, that's actually a good idea. Maybe we should listen to the people who say that everyone should be allowed to be as transphobic as they want. And even though you can call directly for violence under absolute free speech, that that should not be considered violence because it's just words. People really like to devalue the power of words. Now, I understand that words have not moved mountains, or they have moved mobs, they have made lynches. Maybe a word has inspired you personally to violence at some point. You're a little kid, some other kid comes up to you and starts making fun of your mom, so you punch him in the face, and then he throws you against a chain link fence, and then another kid says words to him that make him stop and start crying. Maybe words saved your life, so why the fuck can't we just acknowledge that words can end lives too? Maybe you shouldn't be able to say whatever you want to millions of people. Millions of impressionable, complete, fucking idiots. I say come on and debate like I actually know how to frickin' do so. I've never debated anything in my life. I can write a mean essay, but I definitely can't ambush people that are far less informed than me, like your average Ben Shapiro can. Although, I suppose being ambushed by Ben Shapiro would get me some big old clout points. My cloutussy. But moving on, there's one other political topic that I just wanted... I'm not as heated about, but it is something I wanted to mention, though it may not be as interesting to you as here in Ontario, we're having a bit of a healthcare crisis. What with the thing going on for the past few years. And during that health crisis, the current Conservative government, led by one Doug Ford, put a pay cap, or wage cap rather, on nurses, and of course, as you can imagine, it made many nurses unhappy, and with ERs being overloaded, wait times being in the 5-hour to infinite range, ICUs shutting down because they don't have enough staff to cover the beds. People have been theorizing that, maybe this conservative guy, Doug Ford, maybe he's moving towards the privatization of healthcare since he's funded and donated to by so many big business interests. And I just want to bring that up because that is a really fucking scary thought to think about, that I myself, as a cancer survivor whose parents had to pay jack shit and nothing, not a nickel, for me to survive, could be under threat from this person who wants to make it like, I don't know, the American model, where, hey, your kid has cancer? Well, you're fucked for life unless you're rich. So there... something I just can't stop calling back and thinking about how maybe it's the radical left of me, but what? I just do not understand how the big internet right people can think of themselves as the morally correct, as they do everything they can to make life worse for untold amounts of people. It's weird that the two major rightoid political talking points I've been seeing a lot lately are A, trans rights, as that's the big hot topic to oppress, and 2 is the whole vaccine masking issue for the pandemic. It's very strange to me that it was very strange to me when it started cropping up that there's a big pushback against the idea of putting a little cloth over your face so you don't cough on people. And less so the vaccine side of things. Like, yeah, I get it. If you're a righty and you're a conspiracy theorist, you're probably afraid of whatever the government wants to put with a little needle into your body. Like, there could be little micro machines in there that are going to race around your bloodstream, like give you cravings for McDonald's or something. So I get that aspect, but it's not even that. It's such a strange doublethink of, well, these vaccines are unsafe. You have a 1 in 50 chance of getting myocarditis. You could die. When the original conservative argument at the start of the pandemic was, well, the mortality rate is so low that it's obviously natural selection. We should just continue as normal, and the weak will die, and the strong will survive. Well, what the fuck happened to being the strong? Just get the vaccine if you're the strong and you will survive. You're okay with fucking thousands, millions of people dying of COVID, but the idea of you having to face a 1 in 50 chance of myocarditis is too much. And they bring that up against the mortality rate of COVID, not against the long-term effects that are still not entirely clear. and studied, but they like to bring up the long-term effects of the vaccines that are still unclear and not entirely studied. But then, of course, the big talking point is freedom versus not freedom. I like it. I should have the freedom to not put the cloth over my face and spit on the grocery store items. That is just something given to me by God, which, I guess you weren't born with a cloth over your face, but it's really less about what is your right, and really more about how much do you respect the people around you that you don't want to spit on them and get in their face and give them a potentially deadly sickness. And with the case of the vaccines, like, I guess? I mean, there are a lot of mandatory vaccines for school. Then the argument is, well, those vaccines are tested and we know they're safe. This vaccine is not. It's the government trying to kill us. Why wasn't COVID the government trying to kill you? Why is COVID just the government trying to control you, but not trying to kill you? Why doesn't that side of the conspiracy factor in? Maybe I'm just not conservative enough to understand the conservative mind, and it's very... When I was a teenager, I think I considered myself like half conservative because I thought I was against more taxes. But, as if you can guess, that changed as I got older. So maybe I was just always a liberal, and I'll never understand the finer points of being opposed to not getting sick. Well, maybe it's not that simple. Anyone want to come on and debate the anti-vax side of things? And it's so interesting, too, that to see how much anti-vaccination sentiment has blown up after, like, a decade of it being made fun of online for the whole, vaccines cause autism argument. And everyone's afraid that vaccines cause just plain straight old death. And it's become a much bigger talking point that even the fucking former president of the United States would bring up. Could you imagine if Donald Trump got on stage and was like, I don't trust those vaccines. They cause autism. I'm not going to get autism. I'm too old for that. Can't deal with it. It's no good. What a fucking joke world we live in. And I don't think I respect much of the anti-vax movement. I guess if you're truly worried, but again, I don't think these people are truly worried. I think they just don't want to be told what to do, or just contrarian that because it's somehow the liberal point of accepting vaccines means accepting government, like, control, as they vehemently argue that the government should control and oppress certain communities. It's just so fucking weird. Moving on. Oh yeah, not moving on, actually. There was one more point I wanted to bring up about the pronoun police that I just remembered. Is I recently saw a clip of, a long time ago, probably a few months now, when some celebrity, I don't really know what they do, Harry Styles wore a dress on the cover of some magazine that I'll never in my life read, and that pissed the freak off out of the pronoun police, Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson. I got to see the funny clips of them reacting to it. It is so goddamn strange to hear them arguing that gender norms are like a pillar of society as they themselves break those gender norms. Like Ben Shapiro, like, gender norms are very, very important. You cannot wear a dress. And then immediately after that, he's like, I asked my hair and makeup woman about what she thought about Harry Styles in the dress. Like, excuse me? Your hair and makeup? That doesn't seem very male normative. You don't see the double think in that, Ben? No, of course not, because it's, I assume his argument would be, it's just a standard showbiz thing. Wow! Under certain contexts, you can break gender norms. Isn't that interesting? Maybe they're not such an important pinnacle of society. Maybe a guy walking down the street in a big ugly dress is not a threat to you as a Judeo-Christian baby. It's so fucking ridiculous. I don't even care to remember the Jordan Peterson standpoint. It wasn't quite as funny as seeing Ben just double think it that far out the door. Or that closely out the door, rather. God, I'm presenting myself so poorly. I think maybe I should just start writing scripts for these things like your good old Benny boy does. And to further talk about the whole vaccine partisan vaccine divide between the left and the right. Months ago, there was a protest called the Freedom Convoy, in which truckers who didn't want to be vaccinated trucked their ass to our capital city, Ottawa, and started honking and making noise day and night in the name of freedom. And I'm not exactly sure where I stand on that. Like, yes, you have a right to protest, though I think if you're trying to win the people over, that protest should probably not be honking at all hours of the night and preventing, like, getting in the way of people's freedoms to just live their fucking lives. I mean, maybe you could argue that that's the point of a protest. It becomes more visible, but you're literally just sitting in one localized area and annoying X group of people for days, rather than, like, raising awareness anywhere else. You're just sort of torturing people for a while. But people should probably have their freedom to not have little micro machines injected into them. But where I really wanted to go with this was one of the outspoken advocates of the Freedom Convoy, and now a frontrunner for the next leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, is a man named Pierre Poilievre. And please forgive my horrible Frenchness. I've always been bad at French accent. Used to drive my French teacher wild. And I do have to worry, since those are the like most altist, rightist viewpoints are the anti-vax crowd, and they are pretty much always also the anti-me and the anti-trans crowd. So I have to wonder if the conservative leader, or potential conservative leader, is willing to throw his hat in with the most right-leaning people in Canada. And I constantly see on Twitter that the most right-leaning people in Canada are vehemently anti-trans, vehemently anti-gay, vehemently anti-human rights in general. Well, what does that mean for the guy who's thrown his hat in to be party leader? That he identifies with these people, he supports these people. Of course, by supporting one protest, he doesn't support, the sentiment that I should be killed. But it just makes me think. That is a bit of my little worries for this week. Is, hey, are we gonna have a race of alt-right versus our current liberal who may have won the last election quite handily, but is constantly freaking having scandals about donating government funds to his family's charities and such? Is that really the race that we want to have? Because, like, the last guy to go up, I don't know if I mentioned it last podcast, the last conservative leader for the federal election was a guy named Aaron O'Toole. How are you going to be running a guy with Tool in his name? And a guy named Pierre Poilievre has a much higher chance of success, considering that Quebec, as one of my teachers in college used to call it, has a much higher conservative voter base. And wow, I've been talking about this for like half an hour. I should probably get off politics. This has not been funny at all. This has just been me getting a little bit angry and stumbling over my words. That's what you fucking showed up for. That's what it's gonna be. Let's just stroll into, let's get on our Segway and drive right off this cliff and into something a little less depressing to me. It was a couple weeks past. What did I do this week? I played the first half, like hour and a half of Psychonauts, the first level. And if you've never played Psychonauts, it's a 2005 platformer with very, very good, at least from what I played, writing. And it's set up to be like a sort of kids cartoon about a kid going to summer camp for people with kids with psychic abilities and learning how to become a psychonaut, which is like a psychic cop-ish thing, basically, I think. I don't know, I haven't played the game that far. And from what I played, it was so interesting that I played a bit of Crash Bandicoot 4 after it, because Crash 4 is a game that, like, very much also leans into the idea of trying to be like a cartoon, and I'll just straight up say, from what I played, it fails. It's not funny at all, though Crash does have good facial expressions. It was so interesting playing that and seeing something fail to emulate a cartoon. after playing Psychonauts, which just straight up, if it were a cartoon, if you just took out the cutscenes or the gameplay and arranged it all to be a cutscene, it would be a really fucking good cartoon. Like, I actually laughed hard in the first cutscene. Great delivery there, which I guess sort of brings me a little bit back to politics right away, because the other thing I did recently, I didn't watch a movie, but I watched Norm Macdonald's stand-up special that was released posthumously, I'm bad at words, after his death. Nothing special. It's on Netflix. That's not where I watched it. Tee-hee. And in that special, which I used to be a big stand-up person, not so much anymore, but I can still, like, see that Norm Macdonald's delivery is fucking top-notch. And in there, I mentioned politics because he does the common transgender joke, transphobic joke rather, of doesn't have vagina, not girl. Except he does actually, it's well delivered, it's just the same fucking joke told again and again by every comedian who then says, oh, I'm offensive, they're trying to cancel me because I made millions of dollars, and then someone got mad at me on Twitter because I'm transphobic. But of course, in Norm Macdonald's case, it doesn't come across as, like, malicious. Like, he's clearly not, like, he didn't dwell on it. It was just a joke that happened quickly, and then he paused for what I would assume would be laughter if were he not recording in a room in his house. But it's just, it's kind of annoying that you can't really escape this kind of thing, even in the escapism of entertainment. And it's so weird that it's like, yeah, you should be able to make fun of anyone and everyone, but maybe stop doing the same 4 jokes over and over and over and over and over, and fuck it, what's girl with a penis? Attack helicopter is what I identify as. I swear Ricky Gervais has done that bit at least 500 trillion times, and he goes, look at these trans people laughing at me on Twitter, getting mad at me. They are beneath me, which I'm sure is probably what he actually thinks. But I'm supposed to be moving on. I just fucking can't. I just can't. It never stops bothering me. I lie awake at night thinking about how a large portion of the American populace, a portion so large it has laws made, wants me to be dead. It's fucking beyond dystopian. It's so fucked, and I'm so lucky that I was born a white male assigned at birth who passed as it for their whole life. It is so, I cannot imagine being a fucking actual visible minority, because for every, yes, they're calling for the genocide of trans people and want to extend that to the genocide of all the LGBT community. There's also the fact that they want to also extend that to pushing black people back into slavery. And it was so fucking weird that I saw, like, it was a thing like last year, like the California versus Kentucky textbook, and that just like came across my feed, where in the Kentucky textbooks describes the ending of slavery and like sympathetic to the slave owners, like she wrote in her diary that she's very sad that they've lost their capital and now they have to hire workers who demand high wages. Like, what the actual fuck? Imagine being a black kid in Kentucky and you're literally learning that you were once capital and that was a good thing and it's a bad thing that it stopped. You should be sad for that person who would want to own you today. God, it's so fucking weird. I guess the next topic then be like, hey, yeah, my name's LiveHardman and I'm constantly talking about how living, no matter how hard it gets. But I got a cold in the past week, not even real ass COVID. I just got a cold, and not even a major one at that. It was just a bad headaches that could be taken down with like Tylenol. It was a moderate cough that hurt my throat until I discovered that honey is a miracle cure and makes throat stop hurty for at least 2 hours after you take a couple teaspoons of that. Never had honey before because my mom's allergic. And just dealing with that little cold, I was just bedridden the whole time. I am not good at dealing with sickness. And I recently matched with someone on Bumble that has chronic illnesses that they've been dealing with their whole life. And I wouldn't say it put it into perspective because I have a little cold. I didn't have to like shoot myself with insulin every few hours for my entire life. And it got me thinking about how, my life's not actually that hard. I'm actually pretty healthy. I'm not really targeted on sight for hatred, though I am working on changing that. Started wearing chokers, feels pretty good. Like to go girl mode a bit harder, or they mode, until I can fucking get a doctor and start talking about the possibility of going girl mode. But even with that, I'm fit, I'm strong, I can fight for myself. My life is not very hard, and I was about to say, my heart goes out to everyone that actually has a chronic illness and invisible things they get hate for. And doesn't that sound condescending as shit? I don't really do that. Like when I see someone in a wheelchair, I don't dwell on it and stare at them. And if I were to like look at them for too long and they were to bring that up, I would be like, oh, I'm sorry. I wouldn't be like, oh, you're so brave. You're so brave for living like this every day. You're not fucking brave. I'm brave. I do a podcast where I fucking suck at talking this whole time. I don't know the good thing to come out of that cold other than just the thought of, oh yeah, my life's not really that hard. People have it worse than me. I live in a house that my parents own and owned because their parents, my dad's parents got it from their parents who built it. And because they were white rich people, I get to enjoy that benefit 100 years later. The other lesson that came from it was, wow, I feel very alive when I'm not sick. I feel a little less alive, like I can do less things. And there's always getting into the rut of like, I don't feel like I'm living life, like I'm just going through the motions. I'm just going to work, going to bed, playing some video games. And then every now and then, like, I'll go to a concert. Like, back in April, I went to see my favorite band, Billy Talent, and I was drunk off my absolute ass. And I remember thinking at that concert, like, I feel so goddamn alive right now. And I guess I should really just chase some more experiences to feel more alive, do more things. I've always thought, like, playing more games is getting more experiences, but on some level, that's true. Like, I just went back out of nostalgia. I can't find my Guitar Hero guitar, but I really want to play Guitar Hero again. So I got out the old PS2 emulator and played through all of Guitar Hero 1's career mode with a controller, which was complete ass to learn and is nowhere near as fun as a guitar, but it was still a extremely fun experience, like some of the most fun I've had in a while. And I did feel very alive playing that video game, so I guess for me it just depends on what the game is. Like, I'll hop here and there. Been playing some Kirby. I'm not exactly sitting there screaming woo at the top of my lungs like when I was at that concert, feeling that alive, but certainly is better than just going through the motions, sitting in my bed, going to work, and call that was screaming woo at a concert. I remember I also at one point screamed, "There's magic in the world," and I hope my brother didn't hear it. I was just so drunk, and I screamed that little, maybe cringy phrase for you, "There's magic in the world." Listen, I was like 8 beers and 4 double rum and cokes in, alright? You get a little kooky. I was a little manic in my happiness, a little bit of mania. It's a good time. And where that phrase came from for me is I once had a very, I would say, strange dream, and that it was one of those dreams where I was certain it was reality, and in the dream I could fly. I was like, yes, as I was like flying through the night, I was like, yes, I'm flying. I like splashed water in my face and like was slapping myself. I'm like, it's real. It's not a dream. There's magic in the world. And I was like screaming that I flew over rooftops. And I remember waking up from that dream and just being like, fuck. There is no magic in the world, and being like depressed a bit for the rest of the day. Fun times. I've had a lot of fun dreams like that. I think the most depressed, or like, it was like such crushing sadness. It definitely doesn't last long enough to be actual depression, but to feel so down that it is depressed was this one dream I had where I like had a son and I was like showing him my old school and like holding him up on my shoulders so he could see the train behind the school better. And then I woke up like, oh, I don't have a son. I'll probably never have a son because I'm an incel that no one likes. Also, that school got demolished, so I can't take my son there anyway. I've had a lot of the opposite, though. I've definitely had more opposite, like, oh, thank God that was a dream. Thank God aliens aren't, like, surrounding my house and threatening to kill me. Thank God there's no snake coming out of the toilet to bite on my winky that I have to shake around. Maybe I'll do a podcast on all my weird dreams one of these days. Get someone else on and talk about theirs. And in dating that, or not even dating, just talking to that person on Bumble, and I'm having... I feel like I can't date right now. Like, as in, I'm unwilling to spend any money on dates, and I'm 28 now, and it feels like that's what a date should be, is going somewhere and spending money on other person, like getting dinner or something, which I already don't like doing because I have anxiety about eating in front of people, since when I was a child and I'd go to Sunday dinners after church, and like I'd be eating and then my grandma would ask me a question, and while I had my mouth full of food, and if I answered, it was, you shouldn't talk with your mouth open, I'm gonna hit you later, from my dad. And if I didn't answer and tried to finish chewing before I swallow, it was, you didn't answer grandma right away, I'm gonna hit you later. And that just gave me anxiety forever that I still, I can over, like I can push past it, but I feel like in a date setting where I want to not come across as a gross person, I would have much more trouble. Like, I can eat in front of my friends. I can eat around my coworkers. If my coworkers ask me something while I'm eating that is dangerous territory, I will sweat. And so, like, I don't want to go on a dinner date. I guess getting coffee would be fine, but I don't know, that just feels very cheap to me. And, well, I guess if someone were to, like, if I were to be talking to a person, and I said, hey, you want to just, like, grab a drink or a coffee sometime? And they said, that's too cheap. I'd probably want to immediately unmatch with that person anyway, if my money is that important to them. Or if you're buying, you want to buy me dinner, I could use some pounds on my bum. No. Dating just seems hard when you're a 28-year-old loser. I don't know why I'm saying seems. It is hard. I'm the one experiencing it. It is not something that I'm watching through a looking glass. Though recently it has, just like the online matching people aspect has improved my confidence, because wow, I'm getting some pulls of people I would usually think I'm out of the league of. Maybe I'm not as ugly as I thought. That's always a nice thought. Too bad it's just a thought, because I haven't gone on any actual dates. Oh, and with school coming up, I'm going to be so gosh darn busy. Life is fun. Hopefully I'll feel more alive when I'm at school. I'm very worried I'll just actually get burned out and feel a lot unaliver. I don't know, this podcast's feeling a bit less successful than the last one. That's how it's gotta be. I gotta fill. My aim is 40 minutes to an hour and a half. If you may or may not have noticed, since there's two of these, how are you supposed to notice that? And, like, there's not that much has gone on in the past week. I got a lot out last time. This week it's just fucking the same Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson annoying me. And thank gosh I don't have to see no Jordan Peterson tweets floating up in my timeline anymore. Though I do get the occasional, like, the Daily Wire will be trending with some homophobic bullshit that shouldn't be allowed on Twitter. And I'll get to be delighted by that. And it's a bit sad that most of my political, like, news comes from Twitter, and most of my reaction content possibilities comes from Twitter. Like, I don't really read any actual news other than what the news stations I follow tweet. Those articles I'll click on, but I don't, like, sit down in front of a TV. I don't go to a website to search the news specifically. So really, through Twitter's algorithm, like, I assume it tracks what you're clicking on, what you're stopping on. So it's going to just show me the same things over and over because it knows that that's what I click on. And it's been showing me a lot of hot trans women lately, so that's nice. Algorithms ain't all bad. Speaking of hotness in Twitter, I've always been afraid to just start following infinite porn accounts on Twitter, because once I go down that rabbit hole, That's just one I'll never leave. And also with the idea of, hey, I'm doing a YouTube channel. What if there's that lottery chance that I become famous one day, and then someone goes to like my Twitter and sees following all these weird porn artists and porn people. That's kind of funny. They like some weird fucking porn. So I could make a horny account, I guess. I just haven't gotten around to it. I've definitely fucking talked about this before. I am way too horny and cannot get horny Twitter off my mind. That's something I just definitely need to do, I guess, this is how many times it's come up. I don't know, yeah, the aim of the podcast is just chilling me talking. Chilling, getting mad, as is often the case. I love getting mad at video games. I love getting mad at politics. And there's always that sentiment of like, getting into politics, thinking about them, noticing them as just a bad idea. But I think if everyone were to stop noticing politics and stop getting mad about them, the trans and gay genocide issue is not going to go away. It's just going to succeed. So it's important to notice these things and get mad about them. Though I do doubt the far right supporting conservative possible government of Canada would ever go so far as to strip away like Bill C-16 that codifies trans rights into law. But it's always possible, you know. I never thought that abortion could be repealed in America. I thought progress would just continue to march on. We would not see a black man Supreme Justice state that he wants to look into getting rid of the right to interracial marriage and the rights to gay marriage. Just fucking crazy dystopia we live in. That was a very fun point of cyberpunk. It's a big dystopian world. Corporations rule everything. Also, trans rights are just a thing that's just normalized. You can be happy in the future. That's shit. Why can't I be happy in the present? That's shit. It's just so fucking awful. But maybe in Canada I can. Bring that up because Canada is it's adjacent to America. It's right above it. And our politics on the internet are very interconnected. The rightoids here in Canada have the same talking points as the rightoids in America. It is not fun to see that grow and be allowed to grow. I can't get it off my fucking mind. If you hadn't noticed, did you know the reason I haven't recorded a podcast in so long is because this is what's been the only thing on my mind since I recorded the last podcast, and I didn't want to just do another podcast where I just talk about how much transphobia and homophobia affect me for an hour, but it just never stops bothering me how close the genocide is. It's not exactly a hair's breadth away for the homophobic genocide. The trans genocide is literally a country away. It is happening right now, and there's precious little I can do about it. Maybe I could go become an actual politician and move to America or something. But as it stands right now, this is about all I can do here on my platform with average 1 to 5 viewers. I can tell you guys stuff that you already know and just let you know that it's bothering me. But hey, who knows? Maybe this will win the algorithm lottery and be promoted to thousands of people who will dislike this video and report me and get me falsely banned because they hate trans people. And that's a reality of a thing that happens. But by these people who argue that cancel culture is evil and fail to realize that cancel culture is not a thing for the rich like Dave Chappelle and Ben Shapiro. They can say whatever the fuck they want. But in the Norm Macdonald case, where I have watched the special and heard the transphobic joke, and yeah, that yikes, it's a bit cringy-along, though I do respect that it's well delivered. It had a little like go around, a little setup, a little punchline. Whereas most transphobic jokes are just, attack helicopter, what if I was a dolphin? But I haven't seen the Dave Chappelle thing, so that's just me dogpiling without knowing if it's truly transphobic or not, though judged based on how much it pissed people off. I mean, yeah, you can go, oh, they're just offended snowflakes. Well, aren't we all? No, of course not. Ben Shapiro is not offended by such trivial things as jokes. Ben Shapiro and the right are triggered only by super serious things like me trying to live my life as an equal to them. God, I just can't get off it. I just can't fucking get off it. Maybe I should talk about dreams more, at least when I'm asleep. I'm not dealing with it. I'm just dealing with like spiders falling on me and water coming from my ceiling down into my head and me like essentially getting waterboarded as I'm sleep paralysis in the dream. Although the spider falling from the ceiling thing did become a reality today, though instead of thousands of tiny spiders, there was just one tiny spider while I was at work. It fell on my lap and I went, ugh! And I flicked it away. That was fun. Then I mustered the courage to stop myself from getting up from the chair and like running out of the room and eating my lunch standing somewhere else. I continued to eat with the risk of spider fall on sandwich and eat. And that's a fun thing to think about, how like I'm not sure about Canada because I've only seen the American articles, something like, yeah, you can still put tomato sauce on the store shelf in the can, whatever, if it's got less than 40% bugs content. If the can's at least 60% tomato sauce, 39% bugs, you're good. That's just a scary thing to think about, like moths like to lay larvae in pistachios. I've never had pistachios there, so that's not a big worry of mine. I should probably try more things, it might make me feel more alive. Honey was a pretty good start. Not crazy about it, am crazy about its throat healing possibilities. If you're not allergic to honey, this podcast is sponsored by honey. Not the website everyone's sponsored by. The actual product, the food. Go buy it and shove it down your throat when it's sore and you will probably feel better. Then again, maybe my sore throat wasn't that bad, like I wasn't screaming in pain like I had strep throat or something. But hey, maybe it'll help. I don't know, this is supposed to be a comedy podcast. It's not really all that funny. It's not really all that good. I don't have the jokes this week. I'm just feeling bad most of the time. It's not fun. I don't mean to be wholly negative. It is very nice that I wear chokers in public now, and the occasional person looks at me, but no one has like even directly addressed it. Like if I were to live in a Scandinavian country, I would be hate crimed almost instantly. And it's good that I live in Toronto, Canada, where I can be myself and not be hurt for it. Usually. Most of the time. Though I'm still not openly. I definitely should take the plunge and like tell my manager that yeah, I'm non-binary now. However, the reason I'm hesitant, as I'm sure you may have guessed, is because hey, what if I am actually trans? What if I do want to talk to a doctor, which I do, and what if I do get therapy and they decide that yes, I am fitting the medical criteria for a trans person and should transition? What if that happens and like just in a matter of months I'm like, oh, I'm non-binary, actually I need to change again, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, but I just have this small anxiety about it. People will think I'm flip-flopping or something, or like a trans trender, to use a stupid fucking word. It is, bring it back to the politics and Ben Shapiro once again. The whole argument that, I can't stop thinking about the whole argument that someone would become trans just to go into a bathroom and sexually assault a woman is so... How do they not realize how outlandish that is? If someone's going to sexually assault a woman, why would they go through a several fucking month process and do all these things when they could just walk into a woman's bathroom right now and sexually assault them? It doesn't make any sense. What is that criminal thought process of I'm gonna get a disguise and sneak in over months to do this fucking crime that I would be arrested for instantly anyway? Like, it doesn't become okay because it's a trans person sexually assaulting someone. What the fuck is the argument? God, like, not a single anti-trans argument is based in something that isn't just reactionary bullshit. Like, you get Matt Walsh going, oh, what is the truth? Well, the truth is that a woman is someone who identifies as a woman. Why do you need more than that? Oh, I need the truth. The truth is you're an asshole. Did I say this exact thing last podcast? I feel like I said this exact same thing last podcast. No, you're going for the genitalia argument, like you see women every day on the street. Are you gonna pull down their pants and ask them to fucking prove to you that they're a woman? Like, why does it fucking matter? How does it affect you? Do you think that, like, there's also like argument that it's like, oh, someone's gonna be dating a trans woman and they don't like penises. The purpose of someone transitioning is not to have sex with you, Ben Shapiro. Like, fuck off into space. Have I been talking about this for a full hour? Hopefully this is actually getting it out of my system. I'm guessing this podcast isn't going to be as popular with y'all, but tune in next time and maybe it'll be a little less shit. Maybe I'll be in a little less shit of a mood. What else did I do this week? Pretty much freaking nothing. I didn't watch any movies. I just like fucking sat around, been pissed off, maybe cranked my yanker a few times, watched YouTube videos to get mad at. I'm just enjoying my anger. I'm a little worried about myself in my left politics now, because just yesterday, or maybe it was 2 days ago, I discovered leftist pundit, Hassan Piker, Hassanabi, however the frig, whichever one he goes by, I'm not sure. Very, like, popular now, leftist socialist man, and for the past many years, I've thought of myself as a socialist, and this is just like, it just feels like me doing, like, is confirmation bias the right word? Just, like, watching someone who already agrees with everything that I agree with. But it is fun to see him dunk on the righties, like, a guy I didn't know was actually, like, big and popular now, and, like, getting millions of searches every day, Andrew Tate. And the reason I discovered Hassan was because, like, I started listening to the official podcast a while ago, and they had Andrew Tate on years and years ago. If you don't know, Andrew Tate is this crazy guy who is like a right-wing grifter, pretends to be extremely right-wing, and also sort of is, in that he thinks women are property and is an alleged sex trafficker who lives in Romania so he could sex traffic women and pay off the police and get away with anything. And he was, like, years and years ago, he was on the official podcast just spouting a bunch of alt-right bullshit, and they didn't, like, push back on him because the official podcast is people that are stupid. I don't feel bad saying that. Hello, Andrew, Kaya, and the gang. You are stupid people. I'm sure you are aware you are not the smartest. And I don't mean to say that I'm smarter than them. We're probably about on the same level. I'm probably dumber because I don't know how to make money like they do. Andrew Tate was on their podcast. They didn't push back, and it, like, fucking why the hell not? Like, you say you're not political, but you have this very political figure on your podcast pushing political anti-me bullshit, and you don't push back. So I just knew the name Andrew Tate, and a video of Hassan debating, not really debating with him. I don't know what I'd describe it as, arguing with him, and two of Andrew Tate's weird yes teenagers, and that, like, got me into the Hassan rabbit hole. And now I just worry that I will just, like, start, just instead of having my own views, I don't really watch anything else political, and I'm worried that I'll just stop having my own views and just repeat whatever Hassan says. Like, if you're listening to this, you probably know, yeah, we in our circle, we lost a friend to just a person who used to be like a normal human being who devolved into someone who just gets all their opinions from Sargon, fucking Steven Crowder, like the dumbest people imaginable, doesn't think about them at all, just hears them say it and adopts it into their lexicons and arguments and turns them into the worst person possible. And I hope I will not become just the opposite side of the spectrum version of that. But it has been fun just falling asleep to not really listening to Hassan videos. I don't want to go to his Twitch streams. I'll just listen to the YouTube VODs that are quite well edited, cut down. Which is what this podcast isn't. Haha, got you, dumbass, you. That's also something algorithm related I want to talk about is, oh, there's a good fucking topic for this week. that I'm getting into way too late in the podcast for like anyone to actually hear about it and not click off by now is I watched a video by a channel called Super Eye Patch Wolf, which I've watched one video of in the past because he's like in the circle of people I watch of like Pat Stares At, Woolly Wools, or / Woolly Versus, the Sphere Hunter. So this channel, Super Eye Patch Wolf, seems to do like long form video essays on various topics, and this one was about something actually relevant to Andrew Tate, because Andrew Tate has like a pyramid scheme hustler course, though in this case, the Eye Patch Wolf video was about like YouTuber courses on how to get views and how to beat the algorithm and the dark side of content creation. I can't remember what the first part of the title was. It was like YouTuber courses are a scam, the dark side of content creation. Look up something like that if you want to watch a good hour-long sort of documentary about YouTuber courses and the YouTuber life. And in it, they talked about the ideas presented by the people who do the courses of like gaming the algorithm. And if you've watched this channel, you may have noticed that I'm very concerned about the algorithm. And what Super Eye Patch Wolf posited is that pretty much all the things presented on how to game the algorithm in these courses are just false. Or maybe they were right at a time when the course was made, but the algorithm, how it works, changed, and no one can really fucking get it down because it's just ever changing and will contradict itself constantly. And it just really does all seem to be luck when you look at the numbers, the consistency, or the inconsistency rather. And in this video, Super Eye Patch Wolf, his advice that he gave was just like, don't care about it, just make your stuff. And the actual like important algorithm affecting thing is views to watch time ratio. And I don't like, you can't see, you can just see the numbers of my views, but yeah, the watch time is not so good. So I appreciate you guys who get this far. You are technically probably really helping in the algorithm for my channel if you've listened to this far into the content. Thank you. Heavy Machine Gun. That's something I'd play. Once upon a time, I was going through all the Metal Slug games in the Metal Slug anthology on PS4. I played most of them and didn't finish them. If you've never played Metal Slug, it's an old arcade-type game where you run to the right or left and shoot, and it is very fun. I like playing as the girl Aerie, who's the blonde girl with the bandana. Most people like Theo, but I'm against the grain. I like the second girl option. Something that's always bothered me is people who like, there was a solid 10 fucking years where everyone on the internet was like, I'm so unique, I love Luigi, I don't like Mario, I love Luigi because he's the second brother that no one likes. Like, fucking millions of people saying that and not realizing that, hey, when everyone likes Luigi, that's not the less popular option, you fucking green turd heads. So for a long time I had a hate boner against Luigi. No, he's alright. Now that the Luigi love has calmed down, he's alright. I like some Luigi's Mansion. I like the color green. I like that he's long. I like that he has a long, skinny wiener. That's fun. What was I talking about? In that dark side of content creation, it all being luck, is I feel like I had that chance to get it with those Detroit Become Human videos, like getting a good spike in the dozens of views. And then I just like didn't upload for long enough or something. Like from part 3 to part 4 was too long a gap, and it was like YouTube algorithm might have been like, yeah, fuck you, you don't upload consistent enough, you're fucking out of here. And so I'm gonna like have that feeling of personal failure for the rest of my life. That's a lot of fun. But I guess if I just keep making content, I'll be constantly playing the lottery of, hey, maybe the algorithm will throw this up for no reason. That is also a scary thought of like suddenly booming and becoming popular. Like if I were to have this whole podcast talking about Ben Shapiro, and then Ben Shapiro sees it and like doxes me, sends fucking 1,000 people to my house to throw Molotovs at it and shit. That would be pretty cool. I would feel pretty alive if that were to happen. My adrenaline would spike through the fucking holes in the roof. I do have an anxiety about that holes in the roof threat. For like my whole life, it never really occurred to me that roofs are in a constant state of decay, and yeah, you should probably get your roof maintained or redone every so often. Because like a few, or like 2 years ago, there was a leak in my roof that went through and dripped to the ceiling above my bedroom. And then I was like, didn't know about it for months. And then one day I was like, why does this spot look different? And I like slightly put my finger against the ceiling and put a little bit of force, just bam, hole in the ceiling. Now there's a leak in the roof where water come from outside, fall into house. And it was a while before my dad got off his ass and got that fucking fixed. And like, so for like 2 weeks before I changed rooms, when he was taking so long, it was just like, oh, if it's raining, I better put a bowl under this spot and like be freaked out. Because what if by some odd chance the bowl fills up and it spills over and affects all my electronics, like my power bar that's on the floor, or like I don't notice that and there's water in it and then I turn it on, burns down the house. So that was a worry for a while. And then that anxiety has like stayed with me forever, where every time it rains, I'm very worried that like the roof is just gonna collapse or something, or there's gonna be another leak. It's gonna fall right on my laptop and like ruin my fucking life. There was recently a storm here in Toronto that was like the windiest I've seen in my entire fucking life, and it blew a section of old shingles off our fucking roof, and that like gave me my first ever, maybe not first ever, I had at least one I can remember when I was a kid in the hospital, but my first in like 20 years panic attack where I've like started feeling lightheaded and hyperventilating because I was so scared that the whole roof was just gonna fly off the fucking house. But my dad actually like probably realized, based on how hysterical I was, that yeah, you should probably actually fix the roof right away this time, so no worries about leaks now. That wasn't, I guess that was nice of him. He's technically my landlord. I pay money every month. I don't feel very entertaining. Is this fine? Is this okay? You're one of the few who will ever make it this far in humanity. Let me know in the comments if this is okay. I'm unsure. I feel completely unconfident in this, and that probably is a problem of my content, that I should be more confident in it. I don't know. It'd probably help. Like the recent episode of Detroit Become Human. Like there are a lot where I'm like watching back and like, yeah, if someone watched the first minute of this, they're probably not sticking around, but I like it, so I'm putting it out there. Like, what do I have to lose? Really, no one's gonna like come to my house and make fun of me. I could probably handle a negative comment like, this shit sucks, loser, fuck you. I can probably handle that. What's the worst that could happen? So, it's yeah, doing this for me and you, so let me know what I could do to make it better for you. I do want to finish Undertale, as I've said 100 billion times. No Game Pass right now still. But in the me realm is I want to finish Detroit as fast as possible. And then in August I want to start brand new game, which I can't remember if I said in the last podcast or not. But I want to start that towards like maybe the second week of August. And that's the schedule. I also want to finish Metroid because I replayed to where I was in Metroid and I haven't touched it again since. I really want to finish that because that's a fun game to replay, at least the sections that I haven't, to replay up to where I was. Oh, very burpy. There's a strong possibility that I'm going to listen to this back in editing and just being like, nope, not putting this one out, do it again, say all those things about the politics again because it's still bothering you. And you're still an asshole. No, I've never like listened back to anything in editing and just been like, no. It's actually been the opposite, where I'm like, this is shit. This is absolute shit. I can't put this out. After I'm done recording, then I listen to it. I'm like, alright, that's fine. We can put that out. That's good. That's good, actually. Fatal Frame episode 1 was like that. Where I was like, sure, I should just stop, quit the channel. Lo and behold, it was the most lucrative thing I've ever done in my life. Just hurt to play that game, though. That sucked. Yeah, and thinking about it, I started fucking watching AVGN when I was playing that Fatal Frame. It's been almost a year. I started that in October, and I'm not caught up to modern AVGN yet. Something I gotta get my little nuts on. I'm struggling to think of things to talk about now, so I guess it's that time. Let's give you your recommendations of the week, and then I'll close it out. So I'll give you a movie and I'll give you a game, and we'll do this every week forever for the rest of my life. My game recommendation to you this week is, if you have a Switch and you haven't played Kirby in the Forgotten Land, you're an idiot, you're stupid. Every minute that you do not own Kirby in the Forgotten Land is a wasted moment. The game is like 10 out of 10 on the fun cuteness factor. It's not difficult, but it is gosh darn fun. If you've ever played Super Mario 3D World, it's sort of like that, but Kirby-ized. Much less emphasis on the platforming, much more emphasis on the sucking things up and murdering cute, innocent creatures. I have not had a single dull moment in the few hours that I've played. I'm on the 4th world now, haven't finished it. And I have the only bad thing I have to say about that game, or I guess there's two actually now that I'm thinking about it, is, yeah, too easy. And B is with the bosses, you like pretty much have to redo the bosses multiple times to get 100% in the game, and it's just not very fun to fight the same boss multiple times in a row. I guess you could spread it out, come back later and do a boss, but even then, it's just, the bosses are good, they're just to do the challenges to get the 100%, not very fun. So play some fucking Kirby and have fun with everything except for replaying the bosses. You will not regret it. I assure you. Money back guarantee. If you don't like Kirby in the Forgotten Land, I guarantee you no one will give you back your money. And our movie recommendation of the week is, you should really watch the original RoboCop if you haven't seen it, in 1980 whatever. I don't know about the sequels, I've never seen them because I've heard they're bad and I don't want to ruin the magic, because the original RoboCop is just so fucking good. If you like action movies, I guess there is the whole concept of, oh, John Wick has ruined action movies for me. It's not like John Wick, he doesn't shoot thousands of people. It's just a really fucking cool action movie about a RoboCop, and it has a really good story about his transition from man to robo. And it's also very weird that Kurtwood Smith, who played Red Foreman in that 70s show, is the villain of RoboCop. There's some Twin Peaks actors in there. So it's, once you watch Twin Peaks is everywhere. Everything is Twin Peaks. This podcast is Twin Peaks. This is probably like fucking sitting in the Red Room, listening to an absolute idiot talk on for an hour. And I think I've done enough of that for now. Hopefully I'll have more to talk about than just repeating the same political points over and over and over and over next time. But I don't guarantee that. My only guarantee is that there will be a next time, and I hope to see you there. But I understand if you don't. Actually, no, I don't. Fuck you. I'm entertaining as hell, despite whatever you may believe. You were actually entertained enough to listen this whole time, and you were not just sunk cost fallacy obligated, or just in because you're my friend. You actually enjoy this. Fuck you. Stop lying to me. I'm good. And I will see you. I really gotta think of my own thing to say. Bye-bye.